Good afternoon. Thank you for joining us today. I'm Stuart Barrow, occupational therapist and managing director of Promoting Independence. Fantastic webinar planned today. Normal sessions are around 45 minutes to an hour. We're looking at 25 minutes to 30 minutes for the session, and we're allowing up to 25 minutes for any Q&A you may have. The Regia partner bed is an exciting new product that Lisclare are going to bring to you today. An occupational therapist myself, I know how difficult it is to source an appropriate partner bed. So I know a lot of you are very excited about today's presentation. Bit of housekeeping. We are recording the session and we will send you that link very soon, probably within about 3 to 4 days. We'll send you an email with a link on so that you can go onto our YouTube channel and watch the recording again with your colleagues if need be. Keith and the Lisclare team will send the PowerPoint presentation across to you all directly, and that will be from your local business development manager. In terms of any questions, please do pop them in the chat box. Sally and my team will answer them, as well as the Lisclare team. And at the end, I will go back to Keith then and ask any questions you may have, and Keith will be able to run through some things. So anything you can think of, any questions, whether you want a demonstration or there's colour questions, price questions, you name it, pop it in the chat box. Now is your opportunity. So without further ado, I'd like to hand you across to Keith and the Lisclare team.
Okay, thank you, Stuart. I'd like to welcome you all to our presentation on what we have called our partner bed system. Now, we've jointly created this with our bed manufacturing partner, Burmar. But a little bit about Lisclare first, as usual. We've been in business over 20 years. We're an independent specialist in rehabilitation equipment. Our equipment specialists operate throughout the United Kingdom and Ireland, and we have offices in Cheshire in England, Belfast and Scotland. And we work closely with occupational therapists, physios, nursing and care staff by providing solutions and education for patient handling, beds and pressure care. But what we'd like to introduce today is the Regia bed system, complete with its partner bed options. There's always been a constant request from therapists and nursing staff for what they might call a double bed system that can nurse both a patient and their partner in the same bed. And we've also had requests for a bed that would take two clients who both need nursing care. And again, they would call it a double bed system. The introduction of a single bed is a traumatic change, as you can imagine, in a couple's personal life, especially for long-term nursing care conditions. So usually one person then is moved to a single nursing bed and the other is moved into another room or might start sleeping on a single bed beside their partner. So we had a chat with Burmar to approach this in a safe and practical way. Now, we were lucky enough to be invited into by Burmar to the early stage development of the Regia bed, and after a short discussion it was decided to develop a partner bed system using the Regia platform. So Frank and Olaf from Burmar set about making a safe system that would comply to the nursing bed standard BS EN 601-2-52. Now, I've said Burmar, so who actually is Burmar? Well, actually, Burmar are the home care division of Stiegelmeier. And Stiegelmeier have actually been making hospital beds for now 120 years. They're the biggest nursing bed company in Germany. They're the market leader in Germany. And with all the products designed and manufactured in their own factories, both in Germany and in Poland. We have been their business partner and export since 2002. And the nice analogy is to think of them as the BMW of the nursing bed world. Now, this is the question, what is a partner bed? So we get a call from both clinical professionals and private clients asking for a double nursing bed. However, this is usually there is usually no perception of what is available, if anything, or what it will look like and how practical it is. So sometimes it is a wide bed that they may be thinking of, like the Allura in the picture. However, the beds that are usually designed to be 120 centimetre wide or 140 are really designed for one person, and that person usually being a plus size patient. There is beds that you can import with two profiling sections on a single variable height platform. Now that platform is usually 140 centimetres wide. But unfortunately, that makes each of the profiling platforms 70 centimetres wide. And that creates a huge problem for mattress choice, as it limits the choice of what you would actually need and maybe what your trust use. And it's also the obvious of the manual handling reach problem, because it's just really not practical. But finally, there's also the retail market, and I've seen clients buying Craftmatic type beds, that's just using a term, that they might use try and use in a nursing environment. And then again, some of them are variable height, but very few. And most of them don't actually fit the medical mattress size, which I'll go through later on. Now, the Regia bed can be configured to the exact clinical needs for the person using it. This can be easily changed if the person's condition changes or alters. This made me think it was the perfect choice to create the partner bed system. You could choose what finish the sides were. I wanted a low footboard, and of course it's actually a low entry bed as well to boot. Now, Burmar created this for their bed system. It's called the Easy Switch system, which means you can actually chop and change the way the bed physically looks, usually aimed more at the patient's clinical capabilities. So the Regia was prescribed with just simple wooden panels as shown as the first stage. And as you can see, you've just got a divan-looking type bed, but it still has a variable height for ease of transfer. It has a fully profiling frame for comfort and obviously the clinical reasons, but it also comes standard with auto-regression backrest that you'll see in a video shortly. Now, the next stage is where a person might need to be able to pull up their own assist rail that can help them egress in and out of the bed. But again, they may not have any care provider, so it's again a clinical choice of what you make. And this is actually easy to pull up by the patient themselves. The next stage is obviously they might need a walking aid or a standing aid. So you can actually get a half side rail and a wooden panel, or you can actually choose to have two half side rails where you can leave the other one down, and I'll demonstrate that in a short video later. And obviously you might need full side rails for a passive lift patient who needs hoisted. That's obviously the obvious choice. Now, one of the most requested bed design that I've ever had is a removable or no footboard on a community bed. And the reason being is the term plantar flexion. Everybody who normally sleeps in a bed sleep with their feet pointing down. So when you've got a fixed headboard and footboard, this means the toes can touch the footboard. Even for short people, it actually creates a problem. This creates manual handling issues and possible pressure sores. Now, from a nursing point of view, you want to be able to gain access for personal care and applying compression bandaging. So as you can see, the person's heels are always on the mattress, but the toes don't hit the footboard. And care providers have easy access. But what I'd like to show next is what Burmar created with slight help from ourselves with a storyboard aimed more at the clinical side of the nursing beds. So as you can see, the video from Burmar shows you the three stages or four stages of the bed. Obviously, for an independent patient who is completely independent and needs to get out and into the bed slightly themselves. There is a sample of the assist rail. Obviously, this is used with a walking aid. And again, I'll show you a wee video that I used my daughters in to show you a hoist, well, stand aid. And these side rails are quite unique in that you can have them halfway up and slanted, and whatever way you feel comfortable with the side rails and whatever they're clinically requested to do. Now, as you can see, the chair can go into full chair, the bed can go into a full chair position. And again, this gentleman is obviously quite tall. And as you can see, his feet, there's nothing anywhere near it. And this is a good demonstration to show the access that the care provider has to the feet. Again, these were what I had requested on the storyboard, so it could be plainly seen in the video. And for anybody who is interested, this is what auto-regression does in the backrest. It reverses the backrest back to try and give you a natural pattern of sitting up so that you're not compressing yourself down into the mattress or pushing yourself down the bed. As I said before, it's a low height. It goes down to 26 centimetres, and it actually comes up to the full working height of 80 centimetres. Obviously, for the working height, this 80 centimetres is required for tall care providers. Now, this is something that's interesting. You can actually set the height for the bed to where it lowers for that individual patient to be at the correct height every time. As the bed lowers down, it will stop at the exact spot where you need it to be correct for that patient to egress from the bed. That's quite unique. And again, that's reiterating that the low bed comes up to a full working height of 80 centimetres for us tall carers. Anybody over 5'10", 5'11". And that's it as a full nursing bed if you wish to have just the normal side rail should you wish it. And again, this is the easy click, which I have a sample if you want to see it. And that's actually very easy to change, extremely durable, and it's probably one of the most cleverest ideas I've seen on a bed in a long time. I've been doing beds for about 30 years. Excuse me. So as you can see, there's a multiple choice of bed end finishes and side finishes, but I tend to like the full set of side rails and the low footboard as a standard option, and that's what we will have as a standard bed. And now you get to see the pictures of how it's created into a partner bed. And as you can see, there's one of the most main features that can be split apart to gain access for professional care. So, now let's focus on the partner bed and why the system works. Now, each bed frame takes a 90 by 200 mattress, and I'll explain that in a second. Beds can be joined and separated for personal care, as you've seen, and I'll show you that in a wee video in a minute or two. But it can be used as twin bed system if ever required. Now, what dictates everything is mattress choice. As you can imagine, all standard mattresses for acute hospital beds are 90 by 200, or in around that by 3 or 4 mil. And you can imagine the bariatric version is usually 120 centimetre, and that's the norm. And to get special mattresses made of that size is extremely challenging, especially there are mattresses. And some medical mattresses can be over £4,000. This means whatever mattress is needed or chosen by the TVN fits the partner bed system for the patient. Now, let's talk about the safety issues. The main issue that we had before was the variable height bed motors, and the beds are synced with the lead connection time. Sorry, let's try it again. There's a wee screen came up here. The main issue addressed by Bermeyer was the variable height motors, and the beds are synced with a lead connecting them between the two beds with a low entry. So that means the bed works in together through the control box. If the lead is taken out, then it basically alarms until you put the lead back in. You can get a separate lead or connection to make it into twin beds, but the beds means it's powered upwards and downwards. The backrest, unfortunately, isn't, and it has to be considered because it works by gravity. So all it is the weight of the patient, but it's the variable height part that had to be considered. So the beds work together in sync. Okay. Now, obviously, size is the issue. So you can see the size of the footprint of the bed needed. The bed actually comes, as you can see, either 246 or 253, and 253 required to be used as a partner bed. But that's the footprint needed for the room, okay? Now here's a video of my daughters, the shorter one being Cara and the taller one being Eve. As you can see, they're using the Lotus Stand-Aid, which is a heavy duty, kind of, if you want to be description about it. And it's easy for the egress in and out of the bed. But you'll see the bed has the two side rails on the bed, and it doesn't foul the hoist. And in this video, I wanted Cara to show how easy the bed is for obviously the variable height and to separate it apart. That's Cara bringing it up to full working height. Now, there is a safety clamp in the centre of the bed, which you'll see Cara removing now at the end, just to be sure, because the bed has central brakes, but it doesn't move, as you can see. There's quite a lot that's leaning on it. So that's the actual safety clip removed. And Cara's using now a proper procedure to undo the brakes and separate the bed, and gives her access to Eve. Cara's my eldest daughter that's doing the nurse part, and Eve's the patient, who's my youngest. And that will give you the consideration for the hoist working space required. Obviously, an overhead hoist might be in the room or a mobile, so you decide what side the person sleeps on. Now, one of the considerations that you have to take into is delivery. Obviously, the bed comes with a transport kit, but you can imagine we'd like to do a risk assessment just to make sure that it's not up 30 flights of stairs to a top floor apartment, or up windy, twisty, turny stairs where there would be a risk of obviously being hurt. And we'll, our assessors that will help you with that. Obviously, we have representatives all over the Kingdom and Ireland, as you can see, and I included Wales in this time, Stuart, my apologies. Now, as you can see, the rep's name, and that will be on the PDF that we send out with their contact details after the event. So, questions. I'll go back to Stuart in the studio, and Adam has hopefully been answering some online.
Thanks, Keith. Yeah, Adam's been answering quite a few. We've been getting quite a few back and forth. Keith, can you just run through the footprint again, if possible?
As you can see, there's the actual size of the bed. It's and then the actual size of the footprint, allowing half a metre to move the beds apart. Obviously, you'd have to consider mobile hoist space. This is just so it enables to a care worker to get either side of the bed so they can do manual handling. I've actually done this type of bed in the past, about 15 to 20 years ago, and usually it's in a long-term client with an overhead hoist, but it works very well with a mobile hoist, but and it's not a heavy bed to move.
Fantastic. Keith, if somebody's having an extension built, do you think there's justification, if you are putting this type of bed in, to ask for a larger extension? Yes. Or do you find that would be acceptable.
Yes, it just gives you space. Obviously, you have to have the hoist space considered if it's a mobile. If you're bringing a mobile into certain space, and you need to be clear. In the past, my biggest problem was built-in wardrobes, and everybody has the double bed mindset. Well, a double bed can be 4'6", 5 foot, 5'6". As you can see, this is just over 2 meters of a bed, which needs 2.5 meters working space. Because now you could come out from the fitted wardrobe and split, but you want to make the caregiver job a bit easier, so you want to maximize the space.
Superb. So if they didn't have built-in wardrobes, would you still say you need a minimum of 90 centimeters off the back wall, or would you presume that you would walk around the side and the front, not the back?
No, as you can see, I actually put, that's just leaving walking space, because the bed's actually 196 centimeters, but I've allowed 0.5 meter so that somebody can get around the bed, to be able to get access, because you need to be able to get around. In that picture, say the patient was sleeping on this side of it and the partner was sleeping on the window side. The carer still needs maybe to get into the far side to the empty bed because it's lighter and you need to move it towards the window. And that's that sort of risk assessment you need to look at, that sort of footprint.
Okay, couple of other questions, Keith, but just one off me, if I may. If you have 2 disabled people in the bed, I noticed your daughter then removed the partner section and then moved the bed across. How much space extra would you need if you had 2 disabled people using the bed?
It's no different. It's still 246 because we work on each individual patient separately. So you would
extend the bed across
with partner beds in Dublin.
Yeah, fab.
It's still the same space because you can only work at one patient at a time.
Exactly, yeah. So you'd go either to the right or to the left and one at a time, basically, yeah. Fab.
Yep.
I've got another question. Is there an option for a large button control to enable independent use for the clients? So can you have different controls?
Yes, Linac would have a range of controls for this. This is all, actually this is Divert. They've actually got a better selection because the control box was developed by Divert for Burmar. So that should be available. I'll check into that, but it should be, yes.
That was Sarah Ashworth. So Sarah will come back to you with that information. We just got... So I just read some of the questions are quite lengthy, so apologies. I really like the idea of the bed rails being split to accommodate support for a person to complete bed transfers, as we are unable to fit bed levers onto profiling beds. Is that still the case, Keith, that you can't fit a bed lever onto a profiling bed? Or would you still advise against it?
The problem with the classic beds, and Burmar make them, if I describe a dolly, it has a full-length set of side rails, and you either can have the side rails on it, or you have an assist rail, and that's one of the problems. But on this one, these are actually 2 different lengths. So one is 90 and one is 110. You can, by law, you can actually just have the 110, but as you can see, I can put up this, and this is now your assist rail, and the patient can do that, because if you notice here, all I'm doing, I haven't pressed any button, and it locks in. Now you have to unlock it to get it down again, but the side rail is the same as the assist rail, and it's soft for aggression, so you can go out over the top. And you can actually set this bed up with either a 90 or 110 on its own, depending on, and this is where it gets a bit legal. 110 is a side rail, believe it or not. If the side rail covers more than half the bed, it can be perceived as a side rail. If you use the 90, it's an assist rail.
Great.
Does that make sense?
Thank you very much. No, that makes perfect sense. Just a couple of questions. A few people have queried whether this is an NHS type bed, a social care bed, or a private bed. What is the target market for this? Would you expect social services to fund this type of product?
If I told you the truth, that we probably in Ireland alone get 5 to 6 inquiries a month on partner beds, both from the private customer looking to see what options they have, and then they might talk to their OT. It's a new concept for most people. And that's one of the issues that I have. And of course, there's going to be talk about funding. Again, I know more in Ireland because the Motor Neuron Disease Society actually lend these beds in and take them out again. Obviously, motor neuron being depending how long the patient has the condition, as you can imagine. But we do get asked for this and how can it be funded, etc., etc. But nobody's asked the leading question is, when does this bed become more practical for a house? Because the big question is, God forbid if we ourselves became a stroke patient or an MS client, would you be searching for something like this first? Yes. You know, it's something to me that the OT should look at and maybe consider. It could be half funded by the health service in England and half funded by yourself, because obviously they don't consider the partner. If it's two patients, then it's two nursing beds. It's no different. Because I am surprised about one question, Stuart. Nobody's asked the price.
We have. That's my next question. How much does it cost?
The retail price for this is £3,500 without mattresses. And in the past, the partner beds that we were doing were in excess of £5,000. And the quality of this has to be actually seen and felt to be believed. Obviously, when the shows are out and about again, Stuart, and we're back to your OTEC shows, it could be part of the display so people can see the size and get the concept for adaptations if you're making a long-term adaptation for a couple for their house.
Definitely, Keith.
And I had a joke about it because I watched the BBC show. Stuart and I discussed it. And I don't want to comment much, but this is a true partner bed. It's not two different beds that go up and down without sync.
I think that's the key, Keith. It's about seeing the beds and using the beds and speaking to your client about them, because there's a lot of miscommunication out there. What is the partner bed?
And that's what this is part of the thing that I was trying to achieve, Stuart, is mindset, because they'll call it a double bed. And I've seen two patients on a standard nursing bariatric bed, and it's not right. It's never designed for that.
I know.
But you can see both handsets work independently. So I can rise the backrest up on this one. These are soft touch. Again, the lady about the buttons. These are actually very easy to use. But the variable height motor, they work in sync. And Keith, you can lock out any function you wish on the handset.
Keith, can you hear me okay? Sorry to interrupt. Keith, why would you put that bed in instead of two standard hospital beds that you've got in the joint equipment stores?
Well, the two hospital beds you can put in, but if there's two patients, they're in two separate beds. They can't be butted together. You've separated them. The whole point about this is this looks, pardon the expression, like a couple's bed. That's what it is. Two nursing beds, that's the option. But you're going to have the stress of a family thinking you've just separated them and they don't want the next 15 to 20 or 30 years of their life being in two single nursing beds that are based like the hospitals. It's the whole ethos of long-term care.
Definitely. And I've got a final question at the moment. What about bumper pads for is there buffer or bumper pads for the side rails?
Sorry, I didn't catch that.
Is there bumper pads for the side rails?
Oh yes, that's easy, yep. Cop bumpers, side, yep, the lot.
Brilliant. We've got a question. Can you just run through each of the components? So, for example, the back rests, the leg rests, which bits do raise independently and which bits don't?
Right, good question, Stuart. Didn't expect that one.
It wasn't my question.
When you're profiling a bed, a carer should actually always lift the leg rest first, okay? So you'll see me lifting this leg rest up ever so slightly, and then lift the backrest. But this bed also has what's called auto contour, so it does both together. But technically what you should actually do is lift the leg rest first slightly, and then lift the backrest up, let the auto regression work, and in 2 weeks' time we'll be doing more about this in bed systems and how this actually reduces everything on it. But I'll show you one of the tricks of the trade that it's not explained on any of the handbooks of beds. And hopefully you can hear this working. If I lift the leg rest up, the feet stay down, okay? Which you can clearly see at the end of the bed. Now, hopefully you'll hear the 3 clicks here. So when you lower it down, there's the first click, there's the second, there's the third. Press back up, lift feet. So I haven't physically lifted the feet. A lot of people don't realize you can do that with nursing beds. And then obviously the variable height motor comes into itself, and they both go into the chair position, as you can see, but that's out of health and safety again. Hopefully that makes sense. But in our in-bed system, one we're doing in 2 weeks' time, I'm going to really focus on profiling a bed.
So just to clarify, we've got the videos. We'll send a link for the YouTube channel to everybody, and the handouts for today's presentation will be sent directly from Lisclare. If you've got any questions, please come back to me and I'll send them across to Keith or the team, or get in contact directly through Lisclare's website to the team. So thank you everyone for coming today. Thank you to Keith and the team for doing this introduction to the partner bed and giving us all an option. I think the price is extremely keen. The last partner bed I provided was about 3 years ago, and I think it was around £6,500, and that was in the Gloucestershire area. So it's a good price, it's a keen price, and that was for a married couple who've basically never spent a day away from each other. So these beds are very, very important for social care, and it's really great to be able to see them. So thanks, Keith, again. Thank you to everybody for coming today, and I'll see you very soon. Take care.